was selected as Master of Ceremonies for this auspicious occasion of my mother's 95th birthday. I wondered why I was selected. Because I am clearly not the smartest. That happens to be Ken. Although you wouldn't know it from talking. I'm not the greatest. That would happen to be Libby, who overcame some severe childhood illnesses and crashed the glass ceiling in our lifetime. I was selected simply because I'm the oldest, like you. Gigi was born 95 years ago on March 15th.
Ken, welcome back.
Excuse me, 10. 1915.
I remember it well.
No, that's the wrong speech.
Back to the office, there's a slideshow.
I want you to think what she's seen during her time on this earth. In 1915 through 1920, her first half decade, the Lusitania is sunk.
I didn't do it.
It's not good. And the U.S. enters World War I. So, World War I. And in that year that you were born, the electric loudspeaker and the Victrola were invented.
Victrola.
And the first transatlantic phone calls made. And direct wireless service between the U.S. and Japan is established. And the first transatlantic radio telephone communication is made between Virginia and the Eiffel Tower. Gigi, it seems, was born in the year when talking was taken to a new level. And then she lived from 5 years old through the roaring 20s. Prohibition, speakeasies, Elliot Ness, women got the right to vote. Commercial radio began, the stock market crashed, the Great Depression. And there were lots of inventions. Aerosol sprays in the 20s. We lived through the very beginning of television. Hearing aids, which we didn't have to take advantage of then. Talking movies, talkies came in. And frozen foods. And Gigi graduated from high school in the 20s.
18 or 19?
She tried, but failed at becoming a flapper. And then the 30s, the Great Depression, unemployment at 25%. The Dust Bowl, hobos riding the rails, the TVA, the CCC, and lots of public spending. Familiar to anybody? Milk is 14 cents a quart. Bread is 9 cents a loaf. Steak, brown steak, 42 cents a pound. Social Security is passed in the 30s. And there are 21 lynchings of Black Americans in the South. And Jesse Owens beats Hitler in the master race at the Olympics. And the Empire State Building is completed. And Monopoly is introduced to America. And zippers, thank goodness. The Star-Spangled Banner becomes our national anthem, and Kate Smith's God Bless America is our anthem anyway. And on the radio, everybody listens to the Lone Ranger, the Green Hornet, and the Shadow. And life expectancy for women was 61. What the hell are you still doing here? Albert Einstein wrote to Roosevelt recommending that we build an atomic bomb, and Hitler invaded Poland. And Gigi took a husband. Samuel, Colin, that's your middle name. And she became a Grolic. In the 40s, the war years, you lived through that too. The greatest generation defeated Hitler. Rosie the Riveter, and Victory Gardens, and rationing, and the Dread, you lived through all that. And all the sacrifices that Bush avoided in the idiocy of the Iraq War. And the GI Bill, which sparked a revolution in education in this country. And the minimum wage, 43 cents an hour. Television introduced at the World's Fair. Andrew Wyeth painted Christina's World, the Big Band era, and the Cold War began. And Israel was born. And Gigi has 2 sons and a daughter, all of whom are proud today to be there. And then the 50s, which I like to call the Levittown years. Harry Truman and the Korean War, and Eisenhower and bomb shelters, and McCarthyism and commies and blacklists. Segregation is deemed illegal in this country first time. And then Little Rock and Rosa Parks, and Jonas Salk and his polio. And the interstate highway system is built, and we get Howdy Doody and Buffalo Bob, and soap operas. And Alaska and Hawaii become the last states to join the Union.
And we end up with Sarah Palin.
Yeah. We get Jackson Pollock and Beatniks and Elvis Presley. And Gigi's children go to school, and the family moves to Long Island. And then the 60s, the turbulent years. I remember Dad saying at the end of the 60s, at a dinner that we had one time, I wish we could go back to Eisenhower. It was so peaceful then. He had forgotten the Korean War. JFK, the Cuban Missile Crisis, Lee Harvey Oswald, Woodstock, hippies, flower children, don't trust anyone over 30, May Day. JFK, Martin Luther King, and RFK are murdered. The Beatles, Sputnik, the space race, Neil Armstrong's One Small Step, Route 66, and Perry Mason. The tape cassette, and fiber optics are invented, and weather satellites, and the pacemaker. Gigi's offspring go to and/or finish college. One joins the Peace Corps and brings back a girl from Africa. Gigi knows nothing about it. She pulls her hair out. The 70s, the psychedelic years. Look at all you've seen. Nixon, Watergate, LBJ, Vietnam, Muhammad Ali, Patty Hearst, Skylab, Hank Aaron, Jonestown, Pet Rocks. Timothy Leary and LSD. Whew. John Travolta, Saturday Night Fever, mini skirts, platform shoes, telephone booth stuffing was the rage. All in the Family, Mary Tyler Moore, Laugh-In, and Saturday Night Live at the end of the decade. Gigi moves to Florida, gets grandchildren.
Great.
Great.
Grandchildren. And then the 80s, the go-go years. Ronald Reagan, formerly of Bedtime for Bonzo, becomes president. He frees the hostages, but he sleeps a lot, like Gigi. Later, he's wrapped by scandal around country. The Supreme Court gets its first woman, Sandra Day O'Connor. Neil Smith, age 11, of liberal Kansas, flips the same pancake 270 times in 3 minutes and gets into the Guinness Book of Records. Michael Jordan flies. FloJo soars. Black Friday in '87. And somehow a 508-point day fall in the stock market doesn't seem so precipitous in comparison to what we've just gone through. Michael Jackson moonwalks and still has a nose. The mechanical heart is invented, and open heart surgery. The Pope is shot a couple of times, Exxon Valdez. Gigi's grandchildren move in, semi-permanent. The 90s, the boom years. The Soviet Union collapses. Could you imagine that? So Gigi has lived through both its birth in 1917 and its death. Aunt Rita becomes Tony Buttafuoco's parole officer. Waco, the Atlanta and Oklahoma City bombings, the Intifada, Columbine, OJ gets away with murder, Clinton gets away with the creative use of cigars, the last balanced budget in U.S. history. The Y2K bug, the Gulf War, cloning, and the Hubble telescope. Sandy leaves us with Hurricane Andrew, and Mom's pissed. And then the new millennium, this decade. George Bush makes war and a big mess. Globalization happens. Financial disaster, another market crash, the great now recession. And Obama. From the ridiculous to the sublime. Gigi gets great-grandchildren. I'd like to thank Ken for collecting all the pictures of the family, photos, and putting them together in a terrific CD, which all of you will have a copy of.
Me too.
It's playing over there. You too.
Thanks.
Everybody in attendance here honoring Mom. And I'd now like to introduce, I'd now like to shut up, thank God, I know, and introduce my two sons who have something special to say in honor of Gigi. Richard and Ian.
Thank you, Bob.
Father.
Oh, Father. Oh, Father.
I'd like to let you in on what maybe a typical conversation might go like when we haven't seen each other for a while, as we live in Gigi's world. Hey, Rich. I just came back from lunch with Gigi. Want some leftover turkey tetrazzini? Well, fully no thanks. Did you take care of that to-do list? Because I'm the favorite right now. You know, I changed all the double A's and the flashlights. Big deal. When I was there, I changed the smoke detector batteries. Yeah, but I fixed all the watches and all the clocks. I opened a jar for her. TV remote. Whatever. She still says I'm the favorite. Anyway, did your Passover card come a month early? Mine did. I did get a Passover card, and it was made. There was a check in it. It was made out in euro. Well, I got mine, but mine was made out to one of Julie's kids, and she forgot to sign it. Oh. But have you had trouble reaching her lately? Because I haven't received any emails this week. Yeah, I heard Charlie had to come over and show her where the power switch is on her computer again. You know, I bet she had trouble calling too because of all the makeup all over that phone. What about herself? Oh, don't even get me started on the self-regard. She's not going to answer that yet. Oh, I'm red, right? No.
How's that working out?
You know, Charlie did tell me that he's putting a new program on the computer once he gets it working. What is it? Oh, that's your problem. Oh, no, it's not. Okay.
He lied to me.
Right there. Not my contacts. So my contacts in tonight, so I can't read.
Charlie put a new program on her computer?
Yes, he did. It's a worry log, so she can keep track of all the different things she's worrying about at the same time.
Oh, boy.
That's a great idea. Maybe we can get her to upgrade to an iPhone and there's a worry application that she can get.
Yeah, she'll never miss a worry opportunity or mix up who she's worrying about. But speaking of worrying, aren't you going on a oh wait, no, that's you.
Speaking of worrying, aren't you going on a family ski trip at the end of the month? You're going to have to check in with her every 2 hours.
Don't worry, I've got that taken care of. As far as she knows, we're going on a quiet bird watching retreat. Back me up on that.
No problem, no problem.
Yeah.
Anyway, she told me that she went to go see the movie Avatar the other day. She said it was horrible. She woke up halfway through, saw a bunch of blue people on the screen, and decided to go back to sleep.
I remember how disappointed she was when she saw that other James Cameron film, the Titanic. She stayed awake for almost the whole thing, but said it was nothing like the way she remembered.
Yeah.
Well, look, I've got to go. I'm supposed to have dinner with her this weekend, and she said I need to change all the air and water filters.
But she told me to change those filters last week.
Look, I don't question it, man. I just do it, and I'll save some leftovers for you.
Don't forget,
What's the
up
comedy?
last but least are the great-grandchildren. You get to come up here, guys. Come on.
Oh, come on, kids.